So I've done a lot of really difficult challenges. Some of them I haven't even posted to YouTube. But all of those are nothing compared to the difficulty of this run. Today we are finding out if we can actually beat Star Wars Battlefront II EA while having fun. If I think of what we're up against, I know that this is going to be trouble. Because as a Star Wars fan, this game's storyline is insulting. There is so much inherently wrong with the writing and the gameplay that it's really hard to see this as an official Star Wars product. And no, I'm not going to mention the loot boxes or the star cards. I mean, yes, they shouldn't exist, they are awful, but I feel like that's general knowledge at this point, since EA got hefty backlash because of that system. Now, in this video I wanted to play through the story again and see if my opinions about the base game have changed or not. Or more importantly, this is me answering the question, is it possible to beat the Star Wars Battlefront II EA story while having fun? Okay, so before we dive into this, I have to mention that this game was marketed as an Empire side of the story. And that sounds amazing. Like, really, the Empire is this big evil organization that hasn't gotten many attention. Or at least not from their point of view. So keep that in mind as we go through the game. The main protagonist is Iden Versio, who was captured and is now aboard a rebel ship. First we play as her droid, and we are making our way through the ship to free Iden. And yes, I say droid, because this droid doesn't have a name. They keep calling it droid. That's a shame, right? Star Wars is about friendship and family in hard times while fighting for what each side believes in. That's why we love characters such as C-3PO, R2-D2, Chopper, K-2SO, etc. They have personality and we start caring for them. For example, this scene, where K-2SO gives his life for Jyn and Cassian. It's a touching moment because he is not some droid, but he actually adds something to the story and I care. This droid is just a droid. Well, this gameplay is not fun, it's boring even, but okay. Once droid frees Iden, it gets better, right? Well, unfortunately no. Immediately, the plot of this game is stupid. The rebels have left her helmet in the room with her. And yeah, they could have made a mistake, but don't you think that they would be a little more careful when they've captured an elite Imperial soldier? Whatever. So the plot sucks, but what about the gameplay here? Surely that must be better, right? Well, again, no. There's only one convenient path that leads to where I need to go. Now we are playing this game on Special Forces, the hardest difficulty of the game, just to up the challenge, because I like that. But what is this? This is Special Forces difficulty? You can see me checking if it is actually on. Another example, Rebel right here. They are just retarded. But okay, back to this scene. Maybe the difficulty increases in another level. Let's just kill him and interact with whatever this computer does. But I can't. And at first I'm unsure why, but I found out that it is because this guy is laying on the ground. And it looks funny, so I check him out and I take damage. Oh no! Quickly hide from rebels in the path behind me. I recover, but wait a minute. Then I realize there are no rebels. And this guy gave me the damage. What? What the hell is happening? And here I even take some more. He kicks me or something and I take 75 damage from that. Okay, but this is stupid. But let's just kill him and continue. But no, I cannot. I have to reload the last checkpoint before continuing. That totally sucks. But okay, maybe we can have fun in the rest of the level. But again here. No, unfortunately not. But we reach the end and wow, this should be fun. Iden is going to float herself via the airlock. And that opens some cool gameplay options for gun battles in outer space. What? It's only a cutscene? Ah, that's too bad. Good, then on to level 2, which takes place on Endor. We walked through an easy battlefield where I died 3 times because an enemy kept spawning in my back at a random time. But okay, we make it to this place and... No. The Death Star explodes. That's the thing that drives the Empire and these characters. They must be devastated. Not only by losing the one thing they believe in, but also by the hundreds, maybe thousands of family and friends that might have been on there.
Look alive, agents. We can grieve later. Right now we need to move.
What? That's it? And we continue to the most pointless mission ever. Like, we have to secure TIE fighters. Is that really your objective now? It doesn't make any sense. And this is exactly what is inherently wrong with this story. It doesn't make any sense. There are so many parts in the story where you just keep on wondering, huh? Why? And the game never explains that. And they think, yes, let's create the Battle of Endor. Surely the fans like that. And yes, we can like that, but it has to make sense. Like, really, whatever the rest of this mission is, I simply stopped caring. Imagine this. Oh no, my house is on fire. You run out of your house and watch the flames burn out of what used to be your room. Then your brother stands next to you, looks at the fire and is like, so my bus is leaving in 5 minutes, see you later. That's how this scene feels. Like, really, they don't care at all. And neither do I. Oh, and don't get me wrong, even if I did care for some reason, this mission is still not fun. Oh no, that's because of the difficulty. And watchers of my videos know that I do like difficult runs. But Special Forces difficulty has nothing to do with being difficult. No, it's just unfair. There is no strategy to be used here other than stay in the back, snipe and hope that an enemy won't sneak up on you on the side. And even this strategy won't work because the spawns of this game are really bad. It happened a lot in this entire run that I was making progress by using a developed strategy, but then one enemy spawns in my back and 2 hit KOs me before I have any chance of reacting to that. And that's just dumb. I especially kept dying outside of this tower. The combination of enemy spawns and the AT-ST makes this part objectively bad. So no, in level 2 again, I did not have any fun whatsoever. There's also a section here that introduces the flying mechanics, but the only thing you do here is follow Del and shoot a few bombers. Quite boring. We get a cutscene of the Emperor that sets up Operation Cinder, and we get into a flying scene once again, and everything looks great. Plus, I really like how every ship's class has its own characteristics with the abilities and whatnot. The only problem here is that those abilities will not reach their fullest potential. Not even close. The mission here is to shoot this, shoot that, and while you are waiting, shoot a few X-Wings, I guess? This could have been so much fun if there was actually something important to do. Or, you know, if I cared for Aiden, which I really do not. So far, she has not done anything that I would consider interesting enough that I want to follow her. But okay, we board the ship, and even here, we get boring task after boring task. Like, really, the only thing we do here is hold some points for some time. And that can be fun, but not when the spawns are so bad in this game that Special Forces difficulty takes away from the gameplay experience. But okay, let's find a way around that. What does the game give me? There's a turret here. Great. Except it's not. I did the most convenient thing by placing the turret in front of the main door where the enemies can come from. But placing this turret here makes sure I block most of the spawns behind this door. Which makes it even harder, because now the enemies are coming from the side. But okay, there must be more things here, right? Well, yes. Barrage, for example, which is this mini grenade launcher. It shoots 3 grenades per shot, but the problem is the inconsistency. The bombs fly a weird path, and most of the times, at least one will bounce back from a cover piece and you kill yourself. And you know, if this happened once or twice, that's fine. But it kept happening so many times that I entered a whole new level of frustration. So unfortunately, no fun here. What is a returning topic is that Aiden keeps taking off her helmet, and I don't understand that. It keeps her safe, but nope. Every opportunity she gets, she will take it off. So in this scene, everything goes south. She almost flies outside of the ship, which leads to her death. If only she wore her helmet. No? Okay then. But a great opportunity arises. We fly away and we see that the Star Destroyer can take out the Rebel flagship because of our work. And that's great, right? But no. Some guy on comms say that our father will be proud, and that's it. We instantly get a cutscene where they explain what the next objective is going to be. What a waste! We just did massive destruction to the Rebel Alliance. Wouldn't it be great to see the damage we actually inflicted? The pain and loss we've caused to the Rebels? That would be great for two reasons. First one being, we as the players will question what we have done is right. And that would add to the gameplay, because that would mean you are thinking about what you have done and you start to care. The second reason is that it makes way more sense that Aiden will part with the Empire in a few missions. It's just a shame. There are some awesome storytellers at Skywalker Ranch, but EA insisted to make, well, let's keep it polite and say this. But speaking about a waste, we are about to do the most pitiful thing in Star Wars history. We are playing as Luke Skywalker on Pileo. I mean, little weird that the protagonist of the story is nowhere to be found, but hey, it's Luke freaking Skywalker, my man. It's immediately clear that Luke is searching for something. We first come across this scene, where stormtroopers are patrolling. And that is usually not bad, right? But while playing as Luke, I have a problem with that. Because DICE thinks, the fans probably like it when they are playing as Luke Skywalker and they can use the Force. And again, just like last time, yes we do. But we have to kill all these poor men and...
It's not the Jedi way.
Luke is an official Jedi Master at this point in time, so he should know that this is wrong. And gameplay-wise, this scene is good. It just makes no sense again. What made the final scene from The Mandalorian Season 2 so good? Right, the fact that Luke shows up and destroys warbots like a badass. No one cares about some broken evil droids. What if such droids are made here? That would make way more sense. It would even add something to the story. Because maybe the Emperor created warbots to oppress the galaxy after his passing. Okay, fine then. Another wasted opportunity, but let me make this super clear. Yes, it is something that bothers me, but not nearly to the degree that the next scene does. Because this is the worst idea I've ever seen in a video game. Ever. Period. And I'm not kidding about that. We find Del and apparently we share an interest in a hidden room here. Del is going to open the door and we have to defend him from bugs. Bugs. Really. They are the enemies. And they really are not a threat at all. It is just awful and it takes really long. You need to do several minutes of this. 1 minute of this crap would have been too long. I really cannot understand why this is a thing. And even when I thought it was over, Del has to hack a second terminal. This is literally the worst game design I have ever seen in my life. And frankly, it's insulting that Luke Skywalker has to do this. Come on, Luke Skywalker, the beacon of hope. Imagine what kind of stories he could have had. How good could that have been? I'm sorry, it's just, I'm a big Star Wars fan and I had such high hopes for this game. And I want it to be good. Let me clarify that. I want this game to succeed, but it just turned to dust. But surely there must be some fun I had somewhere in this game, right? Well, certainly not on planet Vardos, which is next. The way Aiden briefs the story, the mission already feels not important. Anyway, the gameplay isn't better either. We walk through Vardos and it takes quite long. Anyway, it's kind of cool to see how the Empire has been ruling it with an iron fist. When we find Gleb, we get into an argument with Inferno Squad. And in the cutscene before, it was made clear that Aiden didn't agree with the Emperor's decision to eliminate Vardos, her home. So Aiden wants to save more leaders here, but Agent Hask doesn't let her. And for some reason, she throws everything away she has ever believed in. The entire loyalty to the Empire is gone and we have to escape. But of course, now that we have been labeled as traitors, many stormtroopers are coming for us. And yeah, I get that Aiden and Del want to stay alive, but suddenly they commit massive genocide on the team they were part of mere minutes ago. Like, really, you don't take out a few stormtroopers. In a matter of minutes of gameplay for you as the player, Aiden takes out a rebel flagship while being proud, Del gets into a conversation with Luke, Aiden disagrees, and suddenly we are taking out all of our brothers from the Empire. What? I believe that you have to make something like 200 kills here, maybe more? Oh, and even in the part where we take control of the AT-AT, we destroy many turrets and barricades on top of that. We essentially take down the entire Empire by ourselves, without feeling any form of doubt or hesitation. And even here, as a player, I still don't care, because it makes no sense. Come on, man. But even when we forget this entire idea of why we are actually doing it, how about the gameplay? Sure, there is potential, I should say. But even that is thrown in the trash by the difficulty. No, really, the spawns are so bad that strategy cannot save you most of the time. Whatever you're doing on Special Forces difficulty, it doesn't matter, because most enemies will just get really unlikely hits on you or spawn in your back and just 2-hit KO you before you can do anything. And it's just dumb. On the final platform, I used a sniper, and despite it being super weak, we can also pick up barrage again. But the only thing that it's good for is to shoot across the map, because again here, I died several times because of my own barrage. And sure, part of that was my fault, I get that, but this is a returning topic. There is something inherently wrong with barrage. Anyway, after way too long of this bullshit, let's continue. But where's the story going now that we are no longer part of the Empire? Oh, I know! Let's join the rebels then! And there are two things wrong with that as well. First one being that the game was marketed as an Empire side of the story, like I mentioned before. But what is this? A few things happen and Aiden goes to the rebels for more than half of the game? This is not an Empire side of the story. We were expecting to learn more about ideology and why the Empire oppresses the galaxy as much as it does. But the only thing we learn here in this game is that the Empire ordered something and Grand Admirals just follow a dead man's orders while being strategic imbeciles. And story-wise, it's very weird that Aiden suddenly starts caring for civilians and the impact of her actions. Like a few missions ago, she desperately believed in the symbol of the Empire. A planet-killing Death Star. Where was her compassion then? Really, because one of the targets is the world she grew up on and suddenly she pulls an entire 180? It's weird, man. But there's also a second reason why joining the Rebel Alliance is a weird choice of the developers. The Rebel Alliance just takes them in. Sure, they expect it to be a trap, but after confirming that what Aiden says is true, they just trust her. Elite Imperial Special Forces. Okay, but think about the consequence. Even if it would be logic to have the rebels trust them with Lando's idea of everyone deserves a second chance, think about the damage that they have already done to the rebels. And yes, I'm talking about structural damage. But we can also talk about the hundreds, maybe thousands of enemies that Aiden and her crew has killed in the story so far and before that. Wouldn't you think that with all this the rebels would hate her, even if they were to trust her? Which is weird, but okay, she would really not have a good time while being in the Alliance. Imagine if someone killed, let's say your mother or something, and the killer becomes a colleague of yours. What are you gonna do? Party with them and invite them to hangouts? No, you would despise them. See how that doesn't make sense? Okay, but maybe, just maybe, we can make sense out of this story if we keep following Aiden and see what she fights for. Oh, what is that? the next mission is played as Leia Organa? Why? What does she have to do with this story? Nothing, it's just fan service. And don't get me wrong, I kinda like this level, because what you do here actually feels kinda important. The Empire keeps pushing us back and we keep fighting with everything we have to finally just come out victorious. Sounds cool, right? Well, yes it is, but only to a certain degree. They use the multiplayer map as the terrain here. And frankly, that is just kinda lazy. Does a campaign not offer the ability to see more of where the multiplayer perspective comes from? No, they just reuse entire maps. Wait, that's not true. It's less than that. Because for example, I may not enter this corridor. Why not? It gives room for a strategic back reap. But no, apparently the developers don't want Leia to be smart, I guess. I would say that the difficulty here is fine. It's challenging, and especially in the final part I died several times. But that was mostly due to me being stubborn and thinking that I could kill more stormtroopers before falling back. I would say that this level came somewhat close of being fun, but because of the map laziness, strategic disabilities, and the fact that I keep wondering why this mission is even in Aiden's story, makes it so that I cannot label this mission as particular fun. And everything that I've just explained continues in the next mission, but worse unfortunately. We play as Han Solo on Takodana. Again, a reused multiplayer map, and the fact that I keep wondering what Han has to contribute to Aiden's story, besides being cool that Han Solo is here. This keeps me wondering how the story would or could have been if Aiden Versio and the Empire side of the story was cut entirely. Like, it's obvious that DICE wants you to experience all the gameplay mechanics in the campaign. Like ground combat, vehicle combat, playing as heroes, flying a TIE fighter or an X-Wing. But all these things could have been included if the story was about rebels who have won after the destruction of the Death Star too. But then realized that it takes way more to actually let the galaxy be a safe place, right? That sounds cool, at least in my opinion. And that would also make it that it makes way more sense to play missions as Luke, Leia or Han or whoever. Since we already care for these characters regardless. That can easily mean a success. Anyway, Han Solo is escorting some man off Takodana. And like I said, it's on a multiplayer map. But something unfortunate occurs. This multiplayer map is way worse to play in a story like this. Because the Theed Naboo map is kinda linear and you can expect where the enemies are coming from. Here, no. There are just many routes to take, and for multiplayer gameplay purposes, I think there's much potential. But for this mission, no. Enemies just keep spawning in your back and you keep dying because of this. So, yeah, Han Solo, cool. Pointless mission with bad map design and horrible AI. Not fun. So after that, Aiden talks to Leia about how her father has to do things with the operations on Bespin and Sullust. So those are the two next levels. She wants to capture her father. That's what I'm talking about. Now things get personal. There is some potential. So I was kinda hyped for this mission. Okay, so first there are some pointless stealth parts, blah blah blah, and we are entering the tower. But how are we gonna do that? Please be good. Not the stormtrooper disguises again. We've seen that hundreds of times. Whatever. We go up to the tower and...
Did you really think it would be so easy?
Ask.
We picked up the Corvus the second it slipped through the blockade.
Oh my god! Seriously? What kind of story is this? It's just bullshit, man. I mean, they haven't seen each other in months. Whatever, the story is bad, but hopefully the mission is good. Now, I'm sorry, but gameplay-wise, this is the single worst mission I've played in years of recent gaming. And the simple reason for that is the AI. On Special Forces difficulty, this part is straight up unfair. As if the last parts weren't bad enough. But rather than talking abstract, let's get specific. You are in stealth, which is good. That means that there is more gameplay diversity. Only problem is that there is no way to kill all enemies while remaining in stealth. Oh, and there is an ATST here, which you can never take out in stealth obviously. So you're gonna have to come out of stealth eventually. But enemies come from everywhere. Here again is a perfect example of why bad spawning is just garbage. So the strategy I had most success with up until now is defending this position. It would be close, but in a few runs that would lead to having killed all stormtroopers. But the ATST is still here. So I sneak around him to get him from this side. But look at this. What? How? This is where I rage quit for the day. Because I had already failed this part for about 20-25 times. But here I am the next day. With new gathered strength. Maybe? Okay, so I lure out enemies to that place. And hide inside the tower so I cannot get hit by the ATST. Okay, so far so good. They'll kill some people outside and I keep pulsing to see enemy through walls. That means I can pick my targets carefully and only shoot when I deem it necessary or safe. And during this time, my thermal detonator will also recharge so I can throw it again, which gives me a few extra kills. So after all of that, I'm left with only a few enemies and I'm preparing to face the ATST. I keep throwing thermal detonators onto him and hide. And although it seems to work, it takes time. But one enemy spawns in my back and kills me before I can react again. Well, this doesn't work. Although hard, I can work around the enemies, but the ATST proves to be a real challenge. So let's go with the stealth strategy again. I sneak into this room and pick up the rocket launcher. Excellent, this is exactly what I want. Since we are here, might as well kill a few more enemies in stealth, right? I choose to kill this one, and that works. But then I also decide to kill this one, which was a mistake. If you do so, all enemies will be alarmed instantly. So looks like I'm running, but that's okay since I now have the rocket launcher. I just have to hold off a few waves of enemies until... What? How? He shot me through the wall. What? I am speechless. Oh my god. Still thinks this game is fun, huh? Well, let's try another time. This time I hold this position again, but make my way into this corner. And they can only come in front of me. Which sounds easy, right? But no! In the end, way too many people will come and still kill me. So I hated this part. And I just explained a few of my deaths, but there were many more. I felt the need to illustrate how many of my runs would usually go. There is just no counterplay. Like in some runs, I kept on sneaking from the left to the right inside the tower. That gives my thermal detonator time to recharge, but I can also attack the ATST from a side where he won't suspect me. But the damn thing can even follow me through walls. Even before I can attack, he attacks me, even when he can have no clue where I'm at. So at this point, I am frustrated. It's not that my strategy isn't good. I mean, technically it isn't so good because there are flaws in them, but that's only because the game design is so bad. Anyway, I decided to give up on Special Forces difficulty. And I just selected Explorer difficulty. No reason to do this on Soldier difficulty. I will have no fun regardless. And with that, my strategy works and I beat it first try. Oh. Fine, I should quickly mention this part which makes me smile. Not because it was fun, oh no, but because I thought about how the developers must have had a board meeting and someone must have said, remember those taxi-like dual ships on Bespin? Don't you think all Star Wars fans would fly in that? And everyone else is like, oh my god, you're right, let's do that. To be clear, no we don't. The next mission is interesting. It makes me wonder why again, because we play as Lando Calrissian. What does he have to do with the story? Again, just fan service, but no explanation. You team up with Shriv, which I actually found really funny, because he might be the most relatable character in all of Star Wars. I think you can compare him to a funnier version of Squidward, Anyway, the mission is pointless, only meant to show off Lando's abilities in battle. I guess everything looks cool when you overload the lava pumps, but that's it. Now I should mention this part. You know, where we can escape via the ATSC. And this part came the closest in the entire game to having fun. It just makes sense. You shoot everything the Empire has to throw on you, but it's not so much that it becomes unrealistic. That, plus the fact that Shriv is really funny in this scene. Like, really, watch this.
If I die here, I'm glad you will too.
Well, thank you, buddy.
Who says that? And it doesn't even feel out of place. No, it fits in his character. I care for Shriv more than I do for Aiden at this point, because he does something to me. But let's stay focused on the mission. The only thing here that I thought was a missed opportunity is that this scene is really short. So yeah, maybe if the scene was longer and if I was actually running from something, it would have felt like a real escape. But so I wouldn't say this was fun. There's some missed potential, but it came really close to it. Now this cutscene. Aiden and Del have been on many missions together. And when they get into this mission on Jakku, Del suddenly says,
Aiden, make sure you come back.
Make sure I have a ship to come back to.
What? That feels really out of place for an ex-Imperial super soldier. But alright then, I guess. We do some Jakku ground combat, where again, we are on a part of a multiplayer map. We have to take out the AT-ATs with air support. And we are going to mark them with our device. But that thing is really hard to operate. I mean, how hard can it be? Whatever, now I'm just nitpicking. If I continue that, this video will be 3 hours long. And it can. This mission is quite okay. It doesn't really add anything in my opinion. It's more like go here, shoot these guys, go there, shoot those guys. Oh, and here's the occasional vehicle or TIE fighter. So more of the same. But it's fine, I would say. Although I don't really get what the point is of blowing up a hangar from a crashed ship. Although I'm pretty sure there is a reason that I've missed while I wasn't paying attention. Anyway, we did it and we launch our X-Wing into the sky again. And here we get into the fight with Commander Hask, who we still haven't seen in months. Like, if he is the bad guy, that's a real missed opportunity. I mean, I guess it could work, but I want to see his side of the story too, during those months of not being there. I mean, he was part of Inferno Squad too, right? So why not? What has he been up to? Why does he still want to take out Aiden so badly? And even if we don't get that, I am unsure why I should care for him. He doesn't feel like a bad guy at all. And even the battle against him is very lame. What if we could actually see him? If he's right in front of us, see that the breakup of Inferno Squad actually did something to him. Again, another reason why I should care, but nope. Instead, he flies in a TIE Interceptor, and Interceptors don't have many HP. But he is a boss, so his health bar is just bumped up to a hero ship level. Really, that's the entire boss fight. Just a regular TIE Interceptor with more lives with some radio dialogue. Okay, but how does that work in practice? Well, on Special Forces difficulty, I really don't know what to do. When he gets into a reachable distance, he will always try for a missile. And I've tried a lot, but I don't know how to evade that one. Plus, it has a one-hit KO on me. So after 8 tries, I set the difficulty to Explorer again, and I killed Hask. But then Aiden randomly wants to save her father. What? Mere missions ago in a cutscene you said you want to capture him. As if the story wasn't weird enough. So we crash onto a Star Destroyer. Okay, that was cool. This is quite generic, but okay. And we fight on the Star Destroyer itself. Unique! Cool idea. The only thing I don't understand is what these stormtroopers are doing here, but okay. The healing ability is really overpowered here, and it will help a lot. A few bad placed campers will still make this part tedious, but like the Jakku part, I would call this fine. Nothing more, nothing less. We make our way into the ship and we see our father. But there is like zero emotional connection. Aiden is like, come with me. And he's like, blah blah blah, give my life to the Empire, must die here, blah blah blah. And Aiden is like, no, you deserve better. But in the last few months, she has only seen her father as the bad guy. So this is really random as well. And maybe, just maybe, there is a reason for how she acts. But then show us. Make us understand. Make us care. Oh. So her father wants to die and Aiden escapes alone, making the entire last 20 minutes of gameplay entirely useless. Fine. At least it cannot get any worse, right? Well, that's where you're wrong, kiddo. We find an escape pod, and after a while, Del finds us and tells us that we have won. Wow, there is a semi-touching moment. You can see the disbelief of Aiden and how she has to take it all in. You know, the superpower the galaxy had for years, the organizations that she gave years of her life for, gone. Plus, she just lost her father. You can see how touching it is to her. But what? Ah, man! Why? Why? That's like so unnecessary. There was no romance whatsoever, and it really takes you out of this moment. I have no words for this. But okay, we've won. That means the story is over, right? Unfortunately, no. There's one more mission, which is really out of place. Decades later, Kylo Ren finds Del and gets inside of his head to find the map to Skywalker. But I am overwhelmed by this. What is this? The story is over. Why do I play this? The only thing this adds is that the entire story we've played so far for the last few hours is undermined by showing that the First Order is even scarier than the Empire. What? What does that have to add to Aiden's story? Nothing. So Kylo Ren comes through a few sections of where the story that we don't care about took us. Like this place on Endor, with the bad spawning. And this place on Pilio, with the stupid bugs as the legendary Luke Skywalker. Or this place on Vardos, with the out-of-touch plot twist where suddenly everything they have ever fought for or believed in is thrown into the trash. Man, I should really end this video if I want to remain sane. Oh, but I can't, because there is one last thing to mention. Kylo Ren gets what he wants, and it is revealed that Commander Hask survived. Oh my god! I can't take this. Stop me with the bullshit. And he randomly shoots Del, so the entire mission we just went through will be declared useless. And I hear you ask, why? Well, good question, because that's the only time EA can answer that question. Because there was post-launch content coming, even for the campaign. So the game wants me to play the Resurrection, the, I quote, continuation of Aiden's story part of the campaign. But I am really not interested in that at all. Not after what I've just experienced in this run. Man, what a game. So to quickly sum everything up. This story has problems with giving reason for things to happen, which makes the story feel random, weird and generally bad. Missions where we play as the heroes are just there for fan service. Except fighting bugs, no one in the entire world wanted that. But they make you wonder why this was all part of Aiden's story, and if it shouldn't have been a general rebel story. The gameplay can be interesting, but it's mostly undermined by god-awful AI and reused multiplayer maps. So no, the answer to the question, is it possible to beat this story while having fun? No, really. You cannot have fun with playing Battlefront II EA. I have tried my best of branching out with different weapons, different playstyles, etc. But really the answer is no. Maybe if you don't know what Star Wars is, you can get a little enjoyment out of it, but I cannot believe that with gameplay this bad and AI and spawns this awful. The multiplayer of this game is an entirely different story though. I think those modes have come a long way since the launch of the game and are definitely worth playing. But please, save your time and don't play the story. Whew. For my next video, let's get back on a topic that is in fact very fun to do. Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart with only the wrench. so stay tuned for that. This has been yet another obscure video game run, so until next time I'd say, take care.